All right, you're heartily welcome back to the program. It's Wake Up, still on the AYV television and radio. Don't forget to keep those comments coming in on our Facebook page. It's always AYV News. Now, in our second and final segment this morning, a swift and unexpected move. His Excellency Brigadier, retired Dr. Julius Madabio, yesterday dismissed 3 top government officials, including Mohammed Ahmad Bangura, the Minister of Youth Affairs, amid growing controversies over the recent, youth ambassadors' travel scandals. The sacking, confirmed in an official notice from State House, also affected Moriba Koba, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, and Ahmed Sebom Kanu, Managing Director of the Sierra Leone National Shipping Company. While the government has not, provided official reasons for their removals, speculations is dire that Youth Minister's dismissal is linked to the mismanagement of a government-sponsored youth delegations overseas trip, among other things. So this morning, to discuss the issue in its entirety, we've been joined by Imran Silla. He's coming from the Strategic Communications Unit at the Ministry of Information and Civic Education. And of course, also flanked by Reverend Jibril Akagbo, who is Director of Communications, National Commission for Democracy. Of course, we're also expecting to be joined by Tijan Kela, who has not showed up. But we're beginning the conversations. Perhaps you'll join us in time.
In time, yeah.
To meet the... Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Cecilia.
Good morning.
Good morning. Reverend, it's always a pleasure having you. Imran, there are a lot of reports around these sackings, One we've just read, but there's also another, which says that the youth envoy, Mr. Amadou, was suspended for allegedly collecting substantial sums, from individuals under the pretense of facilitating overseas travel. It also amounted to about $400,000.
You seem to know probably a lot more than me, I suspect, and so you're going into what you feel might be the reason or reasons for the president to take those decisions. But then I want to be guided by Act Number 6 of the 1991 Constitution, okay, which clearly gives His Excellency the President the powers to hire and fire, and therefore he has exercised that authority yesterday, and it's not the first time, it's not going to be the last. His Excellency the President will continue to recalibrate his government as and when he sees fit to make sure that whoever is in any position of trust will keep in line with his broad vision on the Big Five. Yeah, that's the focus of His Excellency the President. That's his vision. That's his aspiration for the people of this country, and therefore he has the opportunities provided for under the Constitution to bring in players who or relieve people who he thinks might not necessarily be particularly aligned at that material point in time with his broad visions and objectives. Let me also say that I think we all owe a depth of gratitude to all those before Oman and all those who might come after him in terms of when he pleases His Excellency the President. We serve at the pleasure of President Julius Madabio. It's an opportunity, right, to serve your nation, which the President gives people from time to time. And we're grateful for the opportunity that he has given us. And I'm sure in return, and this is something I have said many times, that His Excellency the President is deeply grateful for all those who accepted his offer to serve, yeah, in whatever capacity, and I think that should be the spirit. There's an interesting audio going around by Ahmed Sebom Kanu, okay, one of those who was relieved yesterday. He did an audio, thanking His Excellency the President. That's the spirit, eh? That even me seated here, if I am being asked to leave tomorrow, I would have nothing but gratitude, depth of gratitude to His Excellency the President for the opportunity for these past 6 years. And I think Ahmed Sebom Kanu encapsulated that spirit, that moment yesterday when that audio went viral. People commended him, and I think he has had many friends, many more friends as a result of the audio he released yesterday. And I think that's essentially the mindset of Oman Bangura. He's grateful to His Excellency the President for the opportunity given to him, and also the Deputy Minister, former Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. I mean, he's internally grateful to President Julius Maada Bio for the opportunity.
I mean,
go ahead. While you may have, so beautifully explained what perhaps, you think happened, do you have any other official confirmation this morning as to why these sackings sort of taking place? So,
I mean, again, I'll have to go back. The 1991 Constitution, in its current form, does not give any prescription or anecdote to that power given to the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. The President does not have to explain. It is at his pleasure that we all serve. It is going to be at his pleasure that he would cease to stop someone from serving anymore. Yeah, so there doesn't need to be any explanation for that. I'm, however, going to say, like I have said, that His Excellency the President is concerned about his vision for Sierra Leone. Before he came back for his second and final term in 2023, he has talked about the Big Five. That was the basis for his election. That was the basis on which Sierra Leoneans voted him and re-elected him again, right, to serve his second and final term. And he's concerned about food security, he's concerned about agriculture, he's concerned about human capital development, he's concerned about employment, he's concerned about our young people. And so from time to time, His Excellency the President has the burden and the responsibility to calibrate and recalibrate his team, making sure that we all keep in line with his broad visions.
Do you disregard, the fact that, the youth envoy was, slammed with series of scandals, including soliciting funds from people for overseas traveling? Well, as he did confirm in the letter that Oman wrote to him before even he was sacked yesterday.
I mean, you're breaking this now, right, in your program.
You hadn't seen the letter.
Those are things I haven't seen. I would like to see. But then, look, again, I think you're talking about potential allegations there. I mean, based on what you're saying. It was the minister who wrote the letter before he was sacked. So that makes it potential allegations. I mean, you have to be legally minded when you're having those conversations.
Are you saying the minister was not legally minded, Mr. Sila?
We have to be. All of us have to be legally minded. For us to speak with any amount of certainty, it has to have gone through the courts, right, for a final ruling, or the Anti-Corruption Commission would have come to some sort of conclusion on those matters for us to be able to speak with authority.
Is it with the ACC even?
Say again?
Is it with the ACC? If it's there, then fine.
I'm just saying the basis, the premise for us to be able to conclude that there is corruption, absolutely, yeah. It has to have gone through either the courts or the Anti-Corruption Commission. Neither of those two have happened. I know that Oman has served for 7 years, and we're grateful, right, that he has contributed to national development and to the broad visions of His Excellency the President. His Excellency the President has made this decision at this moment in time. He wants us to continue to focus on his broad objectives and vision for this country. And I think anything short of that is a distraction. We want to continue to focus. I mean, if I come here and have any opportunity, it has to be on the Big Five, yeah? On food security, on agriculture, on human capital development, and so on and so forth. Now, interestingly enough, for the first time in the history of this country, certainly since independence, I mean, Reverend is a lot older than me, and he should be able to validate this. We now know that rice has gone, it has gone down for the first time. It has never happened in the history of this country. From close to 1 million or slightly over 1 million, we're now talking about 250, if not 300,000 off. The price per unit for a bag of rice. It shows that government wants to, President Bio is focused
I understand
on his ambition. I mean, I'm sorry I'm moving away from what...
Yeah, exactly, because I don't want to confirm
but I have the responsibility to talk broadly.
Before I leave you, I understand. I saw the press release yesterday about the rice and everything.
We should be talking more about those.
But what I read here as a presenter, from the intro the producer produced, was to ask about these sackings.
No,
it's my job here this morning.
And it is my responsibility to tie everything up.
Yes, I understand.
That's why I'm here.
You're going to speak about it. One last thing. In the letter that Oman wrote to the youth envoy, suspending him for 6 months before he was sacked yesterday, Mr. Oman stated in the letter that indeed this man, the youth envoy, had confirmed, had accepted, that indeed he received monies from these people for overseas traveling. And you're saying that you had never You know, not even once.
So
about all of these things.
Again, I mean, going by your account, right, and what you have read this morning.
It's from the press release.
Oh.
The letter the man wrote.
Going
the
by
minister. It was official. It had the stamp and everything.
Again, going by your account and what you've read, I think it confirms my earlier position, which is His Excellency the President is obsessed about his broad visions and objective for this country, and anything short of that is a distraction. He wants us to continue to focus, right, on his Big Five agenda, which is what he was elected and re-elected upon to serve his second and final term. There might be issues. I'm not saying that those issues might not exist in real life, but bottom line is His Excellency the President has taken those decisions, concerning those three individuals because he wants us to focus on his Big Five, and that is why he did recalibrate yesterday and will continue to do so at any given opportunity, as and when he sees it fit, it fits to do that recalibration.
You've spoke extensively on a lot of things, and even trying to bring in, you know, the good things that you think the president is doing at this point.
We should be talking
I mean,
about.
we do commend them all the time, but when there are issues like this, I mean, it's important we also hold conversations around them.
Absolutely.
Now, the dismissal of the three personals, you know, was at shattering yesterday. Now, how do you think the government is going to ensure transparency in all of this with regards, you know, the investigation that might be ongoing or will be carried out?
Look, we know, as a matter of fact, that the president has a zero tolerance for corruption or anything to do with corruption. We know from experience also that His Excellency the President has had several investigations, or the Anti-Corruption Commission has instituted several investigations against individuals serving in government. So I'm not just talking about political appointees, but even civil and public servants. That is not going to stop. That is a reason why we continue to be commended for our efforts in the fight against corruption. It doesn't mean that those challenges won't come. Yeah, they would come, but then ultimately it's about the actions or the reaction of government. That is what determines how serious we are. And I think over time, sufficiently enough, we have shown that we have, I mean, I'm going to borrow the words now of Mohammed Rahman Swari, the right timber and caliber in government, in the Anti-Corruption Commission, to be able to fight against corruption. So anything that warrants an investigation by the ACC, it will definitely be done and carried out, and those conclusions will be made public like they have done in the past. Wherever those concerns are and whenever they come up, I'm sure the legal process would ensue in making sure that there is a closure and finality to those.
Let me come to you, Reverend Jibrila. First off, I want you to lay the premises. Are you in preview of, you know, all of these things that are making headway in the country at the moment? Because, like Imran mentioned, he's not aware of specific things. He hasn't even seen the letter that was, you know, published out on social media, if I may put it that way. Are you in preview of it?
Yeah, I've seen the letter written by the sacked minister to the youth envoy.
Okay.
I saw that letter, and I also saw the release from State House about the sacking of the minister and two others.
Okay, so in your own opinion, do you think the dismissal are enough to deter future electoral misconduct, or should legal action be taken against these people?
Well, except for the letter written by the now relieved minister. For the relieving of the minister and the others, we are not told why they were relieved. But of course, there is something that I am actually interested in that I want to point out. In the past, we're familiar with the situation where from State House, you'll have such releases to say it has pleased His Excellency to appoint XYZ. It's difficult for you to hear that His Excellency has relieved so and so. So this situation is a little unique.
Complex.
Yes, somehow unique in the sense that for the first time, in my assumption, that might have been orders. But for the first time, I'm seeing a release from State House to say XYZ rather relieved from their duties. And I begin to ask myself some questions. Why is that so? when in terms of the standard practice, or what you call in law the precedent, is that the State House will just say it's as His Excellency to appoint so and so. So you occupying the position, you know you are relieved without any notification. But for almost for the first time, which for me is, I call it a commendable step, to now say people are told when they are relieved of their duties. But probably we, for the sake of transparency, accountability, and even a concept in say governance that speaks to predictability, that we know why these people are relieved of their responsibilities, so that we stop the speculations. Because that was something my assumption is my brother was trying to avoid, because it's not stated in black and white. So if we have a situation where these things are stated in black and white, the speculations will end, they will cease. Now you go to social media, this person will be telling you it could be on account of X, Y, Z. Some people are even talking about the lower level elections and all of those things. But I don't think we want to use this platform to verify what social media is saying. For me, State House has refused to state why they relieved them, and we need State House to tell us.
But
if
are you
at all,
saying that
anybody should tell us why they were relieved?
But are you saying that if there are speculations surrounding his dismissal, we cannot discuss about it? Because
no, I am not saying we cannot. That's not the point I'm making. But we'll continue. All of what we'll be doing is a continuation of the conjectures, the assumptions. I know there is this saying that there is no smoke without fire. Agreed. But why waste my time when I know there is somebody who has the answers? That person should give us the answer to say X, Y, Z were relieved because of so and so. So we stop. The speculations will cease.
It's never a practice for a sitting president to state why he or she is sacking, his ministers. It's never a thing. So if you're waiting for that, it will never come.
I agree.
I tell you that.
Agreed. So we'll continue with the guesswork. We'll continue with making some conjectures. At times, we might be saying the truth, but there are times when we might also be moving in a direction where it is quite wrong. What we're trying to do now is to second guess why the president did that. And for me, it's like, for the first time, the president is saying this person is relieved. Why not add a few lines to say this person was relieved because of so and so?
So the speculations are there because the people of Sierra Leone are yet to be aware of what is going on. And do you think?
I agree with you on that.
And do you think it's at fault for citizens to actually presume or assume those things?
Why should citizens be blamed for that?
Okay.
When it's somebody who provided the room for the speculation, because of course, in journalistic practice, when answers are sought for and they're not provided, people come, they fill in the gap. And they tell you that this might be the reason for X, Y, Z. So for me, my approach to governance is on the principle of predictability, where I know things should move from A to B to C, right onto the end point. But where you have gaps in terms of the information, people are always going to come in to fill in the gaps. Let me just say something historical. Newspapers during colonial period, I want you to do that research, you are a journalist. There were thorny issues to be handled. Of course, the law was also a challenge. In fact, it even went beyond colonial period. Even after independence, we had that kind of thing where the journalists, they do not have a clear answer. And they know if they attempt to say certain things, there are laws that might come against them. So they will put some headlines and leave the space blank. So that you, the reader, you now come to fill in the gap to say, okay, it could be because of this reason, that is why so and so happened. And that is dangerous. Somebody who has the information should let us know that this is why. And I go back to the letter written by the relief minister. In that letter, as you pointed out, it stated why the person was relieved. But the question I ask myself, who appointed that envoy? Who has the power to relieve the envoy? Is it actually the relief minister?
So do you think that was where he trapped himself?
Well, I'm merely thinking and raising issues probably for further conversation, but I don't have the answers to some of the questions that I'm even asking.
Yes.
But these are relevant questions to ask, and somebody might probably begin to get a clue as to why certain things happen.
Mr. Silla, you're coming from the communications ministry. Your work is to ensure that this chasm doesn't exist in the first place. As a school communicator myself, I'm saying this, that whenever there is a chasm in the channel of communication, it creates a blockade on the other end, and that creates chaos, you understand, even distorted information. And what is happening right now is information being polluted. In some quarters, deliberately polluted, and which leads to propaganda. Why are we not getting the facts right? So, because I think you are here this morning to straighten the record.
Again, I think when you have an opportunity to talk for government, particularly now in this age of technology, you understand that you shouldn't be looking to social media to feed you the necessary information to come and have these conversations. Yeah, because I have been there as part of the ecosystem, right, of communications for 7 years now almost. And I know that social media is not where I get my news from. Yeah? And I want to be factual, I want to be truthful, I want to be honest. But then I also want to help the conversation to move forward.
So, Silla, have I said anything here that you did wrong as a journalist?
No.
Let me be corrected on air. Let's do it now, Mr. Silla. Because what I do is every night I stay up till 2, 3 in the morning to read and research.
But this is
That's why I'm paid.
This is for.
So I just want to be corrected. If at all you think I'm wrong, then correct me now.
It has nothing to do with you. I'm just. Okay. I mean, this is for public consumption.
Just to clear the air.
Not necessarily based on the question you've asked. Okay. But the point is this for me. Whenever there is a sacking, and this is not the first time it has happened, yeah, provided for, like I've stated, under the Constitution Act number 6 of 1991, people come up with so many suggestions as to why, oh, this individual has been sacked, why this individual was removed, why this individual was transferred from one place to the other, and all the rest of it. It is just in human nature to have those conversations, even with very little facts, yeah, or evidence to suggest some of the things they're saying. But I mean, social media is awash with those conversations since yesterday, and naturally that's how it should be. I have a responsibility not to look to those conversations. I have a responsibility to come and say, yeah, for and on behalf of government, head of government, it is agenda on human capital development, on food security, on agriculture. I mean, the title of his manifesto was Consolidating the Gains and Accelerating Development. Anything short of that would be action. And therefore, when His Excellency makes those decisions on all of us at any given point in time, because he has the mandate under the Constitution to do so, he takes those decisions not lightly, yeah, with absolute focus on his agenda and wanting to calibrate or recalibrate his government for us to remain focused on his agenda. That's all, full stop, nothing outside that. I hope you understand. I do not want to feed into those speculations and conversations on social media. It's not for me. Let others do that. I have a responsibility to be on point. Right,
so what message do you think the government is trying to send with regards to the letter from State House? The dismissal without giving reasons, what message do you think he's trying to send?
So like I have said, we need to be guided by law. I mean, thankfully, I am reading a thing or two now about the law.
So am I as well. So.
Good for you. That's even better. So in these conversations, as it concerns and touches the law, we have a responsibility, yeah, to be guided by it. If you're a law student, you should be guided by it. Act number 6 of the 1991 Constitution does not make provision for any head of state, any president to begin to give reasons as to why people have been removed or transferred or what have you. Yeah? It clearly states that the president has the authority as provided for by law to hire and fire, bring people into government to help him serve in whatever capacity. It does not suggest otherwise. So let us be guided by it. His Excellency the President has made this decision. It is surely not going to be his last decision. People have been relieved. Surely and certainly others are going to be appointed to fill those gaps. Yeah? Are we going to come back, sit here and begin to have those conversations as to why this individual has been brought in to serve now as Minister of Youth, as to why someone has been sent to Sierra Leone National Shipping, as to why someone is now the Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs? No. Ultimately, it is about results in this business.
Okay.
Yeah? We're in the business of results. Yeah? Did His Excellency the President accomplish what he set out to achieve on education? Did he accomplish what he set out to achieve on energy? Did he achieve what he set out? Did he accomplish what he set out to achieve on X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth? That should be the conversation. The buck stops with him. He's President and Head of State of the Republic and has the mandate to be able to do the things.
So let me say this: I like the law and I love it so much.
Okay.
So as a journalist, I always cross-check whatever I do with my wife, who is a very seasoned lawyer. Now, you see, the thing is,
So that
I've been
makes it even
observing a
better.
pattern of late, you understand, with these sackings and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'll take you back. Let me just paint a scenario. So Bangor is not the only man who has been sacked of recent. You know, it follows the Chief Immigration Officer, Honorable Alusan Kane, who was also removed from office with links to the notorious, you know, European drug lord, you know, your Slidekers. Now, at the same time, listen this, the United States has just placed us on its orange list, you know. The reason for these are speculative so far, as you're saying. Now, but observers point to unpaid debts, an estimate of, you know, $8 million to the U.S. law firm, Jenner & Brock, which has still not been paid by the government, you know, as well as rising concerns over trafficking of drugs, you know, and all of these things. And just before now, just a few months ago or so, Sierra Leone's ambassador to Guinea, you know, Alimami Bangor, was also, you know, trapped in this whole saga, drug smuggling and all of these things. Now, the Ministry of Communication had said that they are investigating, you know, Mr. Bangor. Up till now, you've not come out with a very solid and comprehensive report as to whether he was guilty or not. You see the things that are happening at the same time?
Let
Mr.
us treat them one after the other.
Okay.
What you have attempted to do is to lump everything into one.
So that you understand the scenario.
Into one place
it's a pattern.
and assume that there's a connection, which is not the case.
Okay.
Yeah? The Ministry of Information did not say it was investigating Almami Bangua.
It was in the briefing.
No. The Ministry of Information did not say. Yeah? Go back and check those records. The Ministry
So
of
the Foreign Affairs Minister made a pronouncement there. I understand what you're saying, but you were all there. I mean, when the pronouncement was made, and that investigation was going to be launched, and the man had been called back home, you know, to undergo this investigation and all of that.
I'll wait for you to finish. Are you done?
Now, I understand. Go ahead. I'm just saying.
Good. The Ministry of Information provides a platform, yeah, for institutions and individuals representing those institutions to come in and speak to the public. The Inspector General of Police was at that press conference clearly stating that an investigation has been instituted and that they would come back to the public, yeah, once that investigation is done. So meaning, even as we sit here, if they haven't got back to us, we can safely assume that an investigation is still active.
Okay.
The last time I checked, it was stated publicly that they would appreciate any information or intelligence leading to the whereabouts of the individual in question, and that we're actively looking, the police was actively, the security sector was actively looking for this individual to be able to help out with the investigation, and that investigation was still active. We haven't heard back from the security sector since, so I assume, yeah, it has to be noted that that investigation is still active.
Okay.
You talked about our name being on a list of amongst, is it 43 or 41 countries, as we see from the United States government. Now, I'm not going to comment on that, but I'll give a holding statement. Yeah? And there's a reason why I'm not going to get into that conversation. Because I know immediately after that list was made public that Sori Fofana, who was a well-respected journalist, published something that is on social media, which is to say that the Minister of Foreign Affairs will be meeting the U.S. ambassador to have further conversations on this particular issue. And I know Timothy Kaba, the minister. I know he's thorough, he's detailed, he has depth. Once those conversations happen, he would definitely, the scripture talks about what? In the fullness of time, The fullness of time. In the fullness of time.
Yeah, you're getting now.
In the fullness of time. Minister Timothy Kaba will come to the public to inform us as to what were the conclusions from those conversations, yeah? But it is safe to say that when states make their position, when they take their positions, it has been taken consistent with their internal laws, their constitutions, their rules, their aspirations, and whatever that government at that material point in time is seeking to do. Yeah, we have done something similar with what you would call foreign workers who come into Sierra Leone and have what you call work permits. We reviewed it. If you talk to Mohammed Ramansari, he will tell you that that law has been reviewed. They were paying pittance almost. It's now over 200% increase. Those laws were taken consistent with the laws and aspirations of the government, but naturally it affects foreign workers coming into Sierra Leone. Yeah? But if you want to have those conversations at any given point in time, you have to respect diplomatic protocols, yeah, and diplomatic procedures. Minister Timothy Kaba would have those conversations. He will come back probably here or to one of our press conferences to update the public. Do not link that to any other thing. Treat it in isolation by itself, yeah? Because I believe it is unconnected and has nothing to do with other events that you're mentioning. It might be for entirely, perfectly legitimate and different reasons that Sierra Leone happens to be on that list, and it's a list of, 43 countries. If you look at that list, you see orange. Go to the first part of the list. Those are countries who will not even have the opportunity to have those conversations. Yeah? Go to the list. That first set, those countries are countries, mainly Arab countries, they do not even have the opportunity to have those conversations.
Imran,
It doesn't change the fact that we are still there, Mr. Sila.
Say again?
It doesn't change the fact that we are there.
So I'm telling you that there are categories.
I
and that
understand.
there are
I've got all the categories. I understand them.
And that
Yes.
there are opportunities to have those conversations. Yeah, Minister Timothy Kaba will have those conversations and he will come back to the public, right, to inform us. Yeah.
Okay.
So let us keep it at that, and let us not learn over. I think this year.
So let's move away from that. Let's move away from that and come back to the issue of the youth minister and the dismissal of the other guys. Now, we all might be laughing about this, but this is very serious.
I'm not laughing.
No, I mean we're joking about it somehow, but this is very serious. This has to do with young people, and we always say young people are the future leaders, and there has been that so much trust which was, given to not just the youth minister, but also the youth envoy, Ulisa Amadou. Now, how, in all of this, how is the government planning to restore public trust in youth-focused institutions of such nature?
Well, look, I mean, again, let me also point out that keep in mind the fact that the former minister has served in that position for almost 7 years. So it is also fair to him and to government to suggest and say that he must have done something right in 7 years to have been around for that length of time. So when you talk about public trust, unless it is backed by evidence to suggest what you're saying.
In a case like this.
So when you talk about public trust, it has to be evidential. It has to be based on something. We cannot just sit here and begin to talk about your own subjective view about what you feel public trust.
It's nothing personal.
No. I mean subjective view. I'm not saying it's personal. I mean, I know you long enough. I know it's never personal. When you come here, you try to be as professional as you can. Subjective mean in your own thinking. Yeah, you might just sit and think, well, there's a breakdown in public trust. It has to be evidential. There has to be a survey. You have to be able to provide those data and statistics to say, oh, but this is what the public is thinking based on some snap survey that AYV did to be able to further this conversation. But let me say that His Excellency the President will definitely appoint someone into that position again, as provided for by law, that would help to continue the good work that the ministry has done, because it's not about one individual. I always emphasize the point that ministries, departments, and agencies, institutions of government, it has never been about one individual. It's about a team. It's about following through on the broad visions of President Bill. His Excellency the President would bring in someone who definitely shares his vision for the young people of this country and would serve diligently, honestly, and truthfully to be able to advance the fortunes of young people. I hope that in itself would engender more trust and confidence, in the process, but then also in the aspirations of President Bill. We know that the President does not take decisions lightly. He hasn't in this particular instance, but he's also looking to bring in someone who would continue to further his broad visions for young people.
On
in
that note,
sector.
I'd like to say, permit me to say, I for one will proudly say that I must commend the leadership of the former Minister of Youth Affairs, Mohammed Oman Bangura. I mean, either way, I mean, that this came at a time where, you know, people were expecting much more from him. But again, like I said this morning, it's politics, you know, things happen and, you know, in a twinkle of an eye, you know, there have been backlash and things like that. But I wouldn't want to delve into that. But now you touch on the fact that, you know, there'll be another replacement. Now, how soon will this replacement be? Because, you know, we've seen instances where, as, you know, like Reverend mentioned, this I wouldn't want to say it's the first in history, but you just see that the president appointees, that sort of changes, but this is something kind of new to, you know, us as Sierra Leoneans. He has been relieved, and yet still we haven't seen any sort of replacement to take his position. How soon will that replacement take place, and what criteria will prioritize merit over loyalty for such, you know, incidents of such nature doesn't occur? Because, mind you, he has served for 7 years, and during his tenure, I'm sure there are a lot of good things that he might have done to keep him in that position for 7 years. And with the current government, it's barely 3 more years or 2 to 3 more years before the elections. You know, what criteria at this point? Because it's just a few more years down the line. Who do you think?
Well, it's actually 3 and some change.
Well, maybe or maybe
because I mean we're getting to the second year now.
Maybe
So
not. But how soon would we be seeing, you know, a replacement of the former minister?
Marina, I have to be honest. I'm paid to do many things. I'm not paid to think for His Excellency the President.
Not at all. But in a case like this,
I'm not going to have a conversation as to how soon. Yeah. When it pleases His Excellency the President,
again,
he would make that determination, and it will be made public. Obviously, I know that His Excellency the President is also occupied with the urgency of now, in terms of whatever decision he takes going forward on everything as it relates to governance. So definitely would see those positions be occupied by other individuals. Now, in terms of what the question you've asked, you asked about the criteria. What would that individual sort of have, right, to be able to occupy that position, or what would be those qualifications? Look, His Excellency the President is obviously looking for, he would be looking for a Sierra Leonean, naturally, who's competent and qualified to hold that position, and His Excellency the President would make those appointments as he sees fit, and definitely that is going to be made public once it's done.
Reverend, as we round off, in light of all of these things, where does civil society come in, all of these, and from your standpoint as an activist?
Let me just correct something. I work for the National Commission for Democracy, and it's a government outfit to promote democratic good governance.
Are you at liberty to speak?
Sorry?
If not, then you can leave it.
No, I'm gonna. You probably are the posturing in terms of presenting me as if I'm a civil
oh yeah, no,
society activist.
no, I understand.
I'm a governance practitioner, and will speak on the basis of that. Every Sierra Leonean has a role to play in what is going on. It's about our country, and whether it's the law or whatever it is that we use in terms of practice, every one of us is required to be interested in what is going on in the governance of the state. I will make reference to Section 13 of the Constitution. That is where we have the duties of the citizens, and whether you are part of the governors or the governed, you are expected to operate in tandem with those provisions, where you are to uphold those things that we consider as valuable to being a Sierra Leonean. And in what is going on, everybody should be interested, because in the absence of say a minister, we know administratively the deputy minister should be acting on behalf of that particular minister that is relieved, or if the minister is even out of the country. But there is also the implication of the substantive. So we want to see the right replacement. And there is something I need to point out.
In a minute, please.
At times when we want to make it look like it's not obligatory for the president to say in clear terms what this means. But for me, to state why somebody was relieved of his duty, it is to prevent the other person who is coming in not to make the same mistake of the other person. Because if I am doing well, it's difficult for somebody to just come and say, go away. It could be because of something. Of course, we still in the realm of speculation, but it's always good that we state things in black and white so that when I come in and I'm taking up this responsibility, I know what is expected of me in that particular role. Like in other areas where people are employed, the HR person will give you the job description and say, this is what is required of you. And if you've come short of it, these are the measures that will be taken. The president is the national HR person because he has, like Imran said, constitutionally he has the right to hire and fire.
Okay.
And so we must get in clear terms what his criteria are in terms of choosing those that should serve with him. Not forgetting that that mandate was given to him by the people. And in the service of the people, clarity is so important. People must know, going back to the principle of predictability that I mentioned, people must know where the president is coming from and where he's ready to take us to by the pronouncement he makes. And so I encourage all of us to ask the right questions and to ensure that we engage in this kind of conversation for the betterment of Mama Salone.
All right, thank you so very much, gentlemen. I would like to use this opportunity to apologize to our Facebook audience. We really do apologize for not reading out your messages, the questions and comments you've made so far. Best believe we'll respond to them in our subsequent programs. But thank you very much, Imran Sila from the Strategic Communications Unit, Ministry of Information and Civic Education, and also Reverend Jibrila Kagbo, Director of Communications, National Commission for Democracy. This is where we end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. We say thanks to our sponsor, Rokel Commercial Bank, for the support towards the program, and to all our audience as we appreciate your time. My name is Marina Terry. Have a wonderful day.